That's right, space cowboys. We're finally here to witness everything Starfield has to offer. From flying through the vast emptiness of space, to intense gunfights which will make you quake with pure adrenaline. God damn it, Todd. You and the squad of Bethesda did it again. A straight slam dunk from reviewers, except for those pesky IGN certified 7s. But to truly see the greatness of Bethesda's masterpiece, I decided to embark on my own quest and see how Starfield's design really holds up while playing on the hardest difficulty. To really feel the magic that is ahead of us, I crossed between the universes and created an iconic character from the Hogwarts world. While some of you may be thinking of the boy who lived, I rather present you the stepfather of the year, Vernon Dudley. Even though we may have discovered lightspeed traveling, we still couldn't figure out a way to create automated mining. Through some minor teachings from our headmaster, we landed on some diamonds which brought us to our knees. Completing the classic reawakening scene in a Bethesda game, we met with Barrett, who was quite understanding of my unexplained dramatic passing out. Right as the exposition was getting good, a ship flew past, which meant we had our first encounter with some space pirates. Through some well-placed resources, I had a weapon and a few med packs present in our hands. We then got to witness the pinnacle of Bethesda's AI and enemies that could tank more bullets than a scrub daddy could hold water. With the success in holding down the line, Barrett felt that the significance of our brain damage was enough to drop us with a prime sub, a ship, and a Fitbit which tracked all the essentials that was going to be needed for our journey. Sure. Why not? We launched our new whip straight into space, where I matched with a tutorial on ship combat. After a bit of nausea-induced spinning and shooting, we landed on the planet of Crete, where I dealt with more space pirates who were following me towards the lodge. I tried using my expertise of the Facebook marketplace to negotiate for my life. Unfortunately, we couldn't come to a reasonable price, which meant we had to go guns blazing. With the power of my movement and ultimate can opener, I took down the pirate leader, which meant I was safe to make my way towards the lodge. Once arriving at the cabin, I got introduced to our band of misfits, who will be the supporting cast of our journey. Sarah Morgan stared deeply into our soul to see whether we were up for the job. I told her about my schizophrenic visions, but this didn't seem like a concern. With our assessment being done, we were part of the Constellation group and had our first assignment with Sarah Morgan, which landed us on a space station looking for a man who had a piece of the artifact. After a very successful landing on the space station, we were locked in between two separate factions, with only a measly pizza cutter and no health packs. Seemingly bringing a knife to a gunfight turned out to be a terrible idea, but through masterful flanking maneuvers and an AI that would rival the average Twitter user intelligence, I was able to slowly decimate one end of the hallway. The other side unfortunately decided to show me that aimbot was still a consistent factor within the Bethesda universe. Unfortunately, one final challenge stood between Sarah and I, and that was these fuckers. At this point, my last resort of ammo was a silenced pistol, which only shot at the direction that was the opposite of my opponent's location. My only way to pass through this cock and ball torture section was to peek fast and deal damage, as my opportunities were short-lived. Through a few resets and much tribulation, I was finally able to retrieve the missing piece of the artifact. When I returned to the lodge expecting celebration, instead, I got a hot space cowboy pointing me in the direction of another piece of the spinning table puzzle. Sam Coe, a Chad worthy of Time's hottest man of the year, had an erection for a mine which hosted a perfectly sliced part of the ring. Yet before we could reach the mine, a small camp of friendly miners stood between us and our target. Right off the bat, I instantly got beamed by a kill streak which eliminated me faster than an AC-130 from Modern Warfare 2, but here I realized that I needed to start my elite sniper arc, and that was what I did. I picked off my targets with supreme levels of accuracy, which could rival Chris Kyle in terms of raw sniper finesse. The scoped lawgiver brought me back towards the past of 1v1s on Rust with an intervention, and I absolutely body slammed Shaw's gang members and got my sweet revenge on the turrets. Once in the cave, I again showed my expertise of my mining utensil and grabbed the artifact piece. But once we got back outside, I unfortunately got ambushed by the leader of the Shaw Telecom company. They tried their best to convince me to switch to their latest fiber optic cable, but our negotiations fell through, which brought our once friendly salesman to state of hostility. Yet again, we were cornered with the most pitiful weapon in our inventory. Like the Chad Thundercock that I am, I was able to vanquish Shaw and her lackeys, sending them back to the shadow realm of corporate offices. Returning to the lodge, we were made aware of some concerning news regarding towards the man who handled me the budget Pip-Boy. Barrett was missing, and it was our job to find him. We returned to our formal supervisor, who pointed me towards the direction of some pirates, which really didn't pose much of a challenge. Once finding our boy Barrett, he was bing chillin' with the rest of the One Piece squad. Just like Tinder, I smooth talked my way through Matsura into letting the homie go. After which Barrett and I pulled up to the eye, and the location of the next slice of the pie, and information of an anomaly that was breaking barriers within our universe. This was a pinnacle moment for our character. We reached a canon moment in our journey. We went from a turbo powerless virgin to Fus Roda Giga Chad. Unlike Miles Morales, our canon event was a success, which meant we were back into the Sigma grind set for more artifact parts. Budget Wayland Yutani had the connection that we just needed. We landed in the striking Neon City, where we began to set up the art of the deal. We lured this poor twink into giving up his leverage, and just as we were about to celebrate our victory royale, there seemed to be a mix-up about who really owned the slice we obtained. Slane's squad pulled up to reacquire some property, but to show my dominant side, I laid the pipe into one of Sladen's agents. Just as we were about to leave with our prize, we received the wonderful news that we had a bounty on our heads from Slane. Walta had the rational idea that we should just pull up at his office and, talk about it, about how important. Yeah, Slane just trapped us, to be honest. I tried approaching this one in the sense of, yeah, I'm the cool spy guy, but my goofy ass got seen real quick. Bullets started to whiz, and at this state, I was reaching an unprecedented power curve with this double barrel of action. With the alertness of the full tower, a wide range of security guards and Tesla Model S's started to hound me down. Even with the magnificent amount of raw testosterone that pulsed through my veins, I still managed to assassinate myself. I even got to witness one of the most appalling showcases of accuracy I've ever seen within a video game.
What the fuck is this gun accuracy?
After clearing the remnants of the remaining guards, I reached Sladen, who kinda just let me go. Once returning, I finally attended a corporate meeting where I mostly missed all the detail except that I was the chosen one or some shit and had to collect more pieces of metal. We grabbed some more powers that still weren't enticing enough to switch from the budget Skyrim shout. As we were flying through space, we received an urgent call from the Eye about an attack from a group named Starborn. Barrett, my best friend, was on the Eye and I needed to rescue him. Okay, I'm here and everyone seems kinda fine. Oh. They're attacking the lodge now. I raced quickly to save my friends, but Sarah Morgan decided to take one for the team. I'm okay with this one. I'm kind of more, Team Barrett. I continued down to the lodge where Noelle tried to hide the collected pieces of the artifact, but in reality, I kind of just led her into a trap for one of the Starborn members, the Hunter. So my dumbass didn't realize that I could have just run, and I tried taking out Kate 6 cosplayer, but after a plentiful amount of resets, I ended up barely escaping with my life. We were a bit lost where to go from here, but luckily our religious heretic friend pulled out an Uno reverse card with some info for us to follow. This landed us on a planet which involved me meeting the Starborn who have been harassing me throughout my run. Somehow, my nuts got twisted in a vice and we got the revelation that Sarah was somehow alive. Our world got twisted with this Marvel multiverse story arc. We learned that the Unity essentially acts as a form of rebirth into our next life in a different universe. Or as Bethesda would call it, New Game Plus. Somehow with this new revelation, our objective didn't really change. I still had to keep collecting these exciting artifacts. Regardless, our next step was on Earth. Landing on Earth, initially it was pretty quiet, but as I kept diving deeper into the NASA base, I got to see how stacked NASA is in the security department. We finally reached Ground Zero, where we found the OG artifact, but the second my hands laid on this piece of tinfoil, all hell broke loose. The Starborn arrived in style to fuck my shit up. As a measly level 18 scrub facing a consistent amount of overpowered beings of different universes seemed like a recipe for disaster. This was where my power came in quite handy. While suspending both in the air, I would focus all my damage on one of the Starborn, nearly bringing them to a killing point. After which, I would shift my focus to the other one with my explosive shotgun. Luckily, this dumb fuck brought a knife to a gunfight and I blasted his ass back into his timeline. But as I kept moving forward, more homies came to back up the squad. Through slow combat procedures, I managed to escape to reach the Twins of Chaos. Here I had to make a choice of which of the Starborn factions I would side with. Either the Hunter or the Emissary. With Arcade 6 replica locked in, we were in the endgame of our journey. All that was left was grabbing one final artifact piece and heading for the planet of Unity. The final artifact brought us to one of the best missions of the campaign. We entered this research unit which needed our help, but once we arrived, they suddenly seemed more confused about why I was there. As soon as I crossed through the security section, I seemed to get teleported into different timelines. We get a gleeful amount of exposition about some sort of interference coming from the artifact. I pressed onwards to retrieve our rightful property. While the bugs were easy enough to defeat with some range, the robots absolutely annihilated me with what almost felt like the equivalent of One Punch Man. These robot models had the pristine levels amount of aimbot, which deleted my health bar the second a pixel of me was seen, and entered the main room with our prize. This room was a literal form of hell. What felt like 10 turrets and at least 20 robots constantly chasing me, my best approach was to run to each panel and hope I didn't get the hell in the cage treatment. After what felt like an eternity and a mixture of good amount of resets, I grabbed my final piece and headed to meet with the Hunter on the planet where the Unity will take place. Sadly, the second I entered the atmosphere of Masada, the Emissary made sure to welcome me with an instant execution within space combat, which meant a ship upgrade was needed to show the Helix what true power was. I created the ultimate turtle spacecraft and attempted to avenge the time wasted during loading screens to get back to the point where I was. Masada III had quite the significant amount of surprises waiting for us as soon as we landed, where they took the high ground and pelted me with bullets. Clearly, just like Anakin, I didn't learn my lesson of the high ground. I tried my best to pick off the people at the top initially, but the second I would approach the Guardians, they would voodoo the fuck out of there and reposition to where they would continue to punish my lack of damage. The amount of resets I had to face here rivaled all the work my therapist has done since the fall of before no damage video. Once making it into the factory, it was a repeat of the loading dock. But this time around, the Guardians would even summon clones to maximize the amount of torture I'd be required to land into the chamber with the emissary. Speaking of the emissary, aka Sarah Morgan, she brought me straight to my knees. I could have negotiated, but on this channel, I ain't no bitch, and I faced the cheek clapping section with full pride. The emissary brought revolutionary tech which allowed her to clone her personality, which would even make a psychiatrist squeal in joy. We slowly poked down each personality through each timeline rift that we entered with the power of some shotgun shells and defeated the emissary to achieve our transcendent status. If you made it this far, a like and a sub would be super appreciated as it helps the channels tremendously. I really did enjoy the game the more I played, and I do have a few challenge ideas brewing, so keep a lookout for my future videos, and I hope you enjoyed my adventure in bidding Starfield on the hardest difficulty, and I'll see you in the next one.